Industrial Growth Exchange,
a podcast series that dives into the growth strategies, insights, and real-world stories of industrial manufacturers across America.
Join us as we go spelunking in factories, crawl through crazy challenges, and spotlight the people that make our world go round.
Whether you're a business owner, an executive leader, or just passionate about growing and manufacturing, hit subscribe and join us as we explore how to take your business to the next level.
So how's it growing?
Welcome everyone to the Industrial Growth Exchange. I am one of your hosts, Chuck Adams.
And I'm your other co-host, Corbin Metz.
And this is episode 0. We finally pulled the trigger, Corbin. How are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling great, Chuck. How are you feeling about it? I'm excited to get out there.
I'm excited to start. We've talked about podcasts for forever, and we're like, you know what? Let's just jump on the bandwagon. Let's just do it, right? And now here we are. But the Industrial Growth Exchange, it's definitely a new series. And while there's other manufacturing-focused podcasts out there, I think it's important to talk about what really inspired us really to do it, right? Why are we doing this? And what are we trying to solve, right? That's a good question. Launching. I mean, I can start, I guess. I guess what we wanted was a place to really talk about industrial manufacturing, but more importantly, right, talking about, providing actionable insights, I guess, and giving feedback to others that are listening. That's about it. We find so many podcasts that focus on little niche areas, but none that really focuses on the middle to lower middle market manufacturing, right? That's kind of what I see at it. Did you have anything to add or?
There's lots of opportunity. I mean, small to medium industrial manufacturers are in a sea, especially in the US, of a lot of competition, a lot of challenges that they're seeing through their supply chain or through, increasing prices or logistics and transportation or just being able to maintain cash and working capital. How do we help people understand that there are other success stories, and how do we help them leverage and learn from what other people know and what they've learned? There's a lot of specific niche industries out there, like, we're talking about healthcare, we're talking about these very big technologies or AI or how all these things. But how does it all flow together, and how do you help accelerate that growth when you are kind of that small fish in a big pond, right? And what can you learn and leverage from what people have learned through their growth journeys to help them along the way?
Absolutely. So thinking about who this podcast is really targeting, right? I think where we're really focused is those executives and those business owners and leaders that are leading those organizations, right? Or at least those that are participating at a very high level. And I love how you touched on a lot of different industries. It's not just aerospace or rail. No. Whether you're making things, building things, right? This podcast was designed for you. I think the value in the end, you really touched on well. And we want to be a place where people can either get answers or at least get started in finding those answers, right? I think that's what's really important. And the long-term vision for the Industrial Growth Exchange, I think for us, and love to hear your thoughts, is we just see this as being a platform for those that are in the industry doing things, but also those that also participate in it, and how we can help bring manufacturing back to America in the end. I think that's what it's really about.
Absolutely. Yeah. How do you help people understand that, where their suppliers are struggling or where their customers are really finding the most value, or what third party supplier or support can actually enhance your operation or your shop or your business? What do you not understand about a particular topic, struggle, challenge that other people have learned how to overcome, or how to take on that challenge and use the people in their network to help overcome those obstacles?
Yeah. And I think our long-term vision when we talked about this was just a place where we have all that knowledge, right? To really have those resources available and at least like you said, get the conversation started. So people have asked us, well, what kind of topics, what kind of guest are we going to have on this show? Well, that's a really, really good question, especially this being episode 0. But I think we envisioned really twofold, right? The first one is obviously we're doing a virtual episode right now. We're chatting over the internet. But I think what we're going to do to really help set ourselves apart is we are going to take time to go visit manufacturers and people actually doing the work. I'm really excited about that and actually getting into the shop and getting to know what they do and hearing directly from their mouths where they actually do the work. I think that's what I'm excited about. Uh, I know I'm doing some traveling this week. I mean, I'm just excited. It'll be really good to get out of the computer area that we're always stuck in and actually getting out and really living it with people and seeing what they're doing. So,
Yeah, I definitely feel like there aren't enough um, opportunities for business owners or executives, could even be middle management, to actually share their stories of how they were able to do things well. And they don't get spotlighted very often.
no.
There aren't a lot of things to talk about how they were able to do this in their very unique industry, because a lot of times, and especially in the lower middle market, you don't see the products and goods. They aren't as tangible to us, right? We might use the infrastructure, we might see the things, the results of that, energy infrastructure or something like that, but we don't feel it in our day-to-day lives, so it's not very um, impactful. And so we want to make sure that people who have these stories are making an impact like they are in their industry. We want to highlight that.
Yeah, yeah, I would say the unsung heroes, right?
Hmm.
Those planes and cars and things that we use every day, like you just mentioned, there's a lot of unsung heroes that sit behind it. There's so many tiers to a manufacturing supply chain, and a lot of them are small businesses, absolutely, especially lower middle market, Main Street. There's just a lot of wonderful people and a lot of wonderful companies down there, and we want to bring that to light for sure. Definitely the topics will be focused on a growth, right? Because like we mentioned a little earlier, maybe we can steer to that for a second. United States is in an interesting pickle right now because manufacturing has departed over the last few decades, right? I mean, we can all agree to that. There's been a big focus on short-term gains and technology and SaaS and all this, sexy stuff you could call it. But
Yeah.
that's great and all. But what about making stuff, right? I mean,
Not very sexy.
not very sexy, I guess. But but
But it
no, I
can
think
be.
yeah, I know, right? But the thing is it's so important for an economy. I think it's so wonderful when you're able to build your own things and be sustainable. And while it's not necessarily a political issue in my eyes, it's more just how do we create a more robust supply chain, especially after what happened in COVID? I think we need to foster, I think you agree too, right? Foster, innovate, and really highlight manufacturing once again in this country for sure. So,
Absolutely. There's a
yeah,
lot of opportunity, and as we saw, the disruption, that our supply chain is very fragile, and our resources are limited, and we need to understand that there is an opportunity now ahead of us that we could get better at making things, right? And
absolutely.
how do we do that? We share success stories. We understand who's playing the game, and where they're playing and how all the pieces are moving, so that we can help improve that flow and help get
Absolutely.
people better success in making their products, goods, and services.
Yeah, support for sure. So,
Hmm.
because some people live on an island sometimes, especially small businesses for
Oh,
sure.
yeah, mentally and physically.
No kidding. Anyway, so I think we're slowly kind of wrapping up here, but I wanted to take this last second to really talk about ourselves, not in a personal, plug advertising way, but I want to hear about you, Corbin, and kind of introduce yourself to the audience if you don't mind. And tell us more about yourself.
Well, a little bit about my background. Ultimately, I was studying mechanical engineering and got thrusted into manufacturing through an internship, and then accidentally fell in love with how things get made. effectively how they get made, how we can make them a little bit better, how we can improve the quality, or we can reduce the cost, and make it more efficient, and how that flow improves through big industrial equipment manufacturing, which doesn't ever get highlighted when it comes to career progressions, to be honest with you, especially as a woman. I was never shown, the Hot Wheels. I was shown the Barbies. So I like the opportunity of being able to demonstrate that there's different ways that you can use STEM in your career and how to improve how big challenges are getting solved on a day-to-day basis using engineering and the like for that.
Got
How
it.
about you, Chuck?
Me? Oh, I'm pretty bored. So I had a very similar background as you, but then obviously as I joined the workforce, it diverged a little differently. Where, yeah, mechanical engineer by trade, and I did my grad school degree over in Fargo. And at the time, as I was doing this research for this little company called General Electric, just a little company, right?
I know that one.
Yeah, that one, right? And I was asked toward the end of my thesis, hey, did you want to come work here? And so the rest was history. Now, in between that, I had internships, like you said, right? Making things, and especially as an OEM, one of them was a ice fishing vehicle. I'll get into that another day. And worked at GE, and that's where I think we both met, and build stuff. And I started doing more business, a little bit of ops, but supply chain issues too, here and there. And the rest is history. And now I do a lot of more of the MBA finance stuff. But that's a little bit about me. I started in manufacturing and now helping you with this podcast, right? Let's elevate and let's highlight how we can better support and tell the great stories of all the people around the country. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up this episode, episode 0. We're starting our journey here. I'm excited, Corbin. I don't know about you, but I'm excited.
Absolutely.
Got a couple episodes in the making already. Stay tuned, everybody, and thanks for all the support. See y'all later.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you for tuning in to the Industrial Growth Exchange. To learn more, visit our website at www.industrialgrowthexchange.com. You can also find us on major podcasting platforms everywhere.